with the power of herbs that support brain repair by increasing nerve growth factor and synaptic plasticity. Beta amyloid plaques, which we know are connected to Alzheimer's disease. Acetylcholinesterase, which is a neurotransmitter in the brain. There's been a lot of talk about brain health lately, and we all know that good brain health and good brain function is certainly the thing that you want to have long term. You know, as you get older, it's one of those things that we all start to worry about a little bit, you know, that as you get into your 60s and your 70s and 80s and so on, that cognitive decline is a big issue and a big concern. It's costing New Zealand $1 billion a year at least, just dealing with this. But we often hear about things like fish oil and vitamin D and creatine. Those things are fantastic for your brain. But what about the herbs? The herbs that have been used for thousands of years for improving memory and cognition and looking after brain health, preventing inflammation, improving circulation, hormone production and regulation, and mood and memory and cognition in general. All of these things can be done with herbs and herbal medicines. So what I'm going to do today is share with you some of the most popular, or maybe some herbs that you may not have heard of before, including things like Gotu Kola and saffron, and how they affect the brain and how they improve the brain and prevent cognitive decline. So be prepared to have your mind blown with the power of herbs. Hi, I'm Brett the Herbalist, and this is another episode of Secrets of Herbal Healing. And today it's all about brain herbs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a page. There's a QR code in the top there that'll take you to the page that we're going to share, and you'll be able to click through and dig deeper into the research behind the scenes if you really want to go into it. And otherwise, what I'm going to do is give you a brief overview of these herbs, and then I'm going to show you how you can get these herbs into your life, into your daily routine, and how you can use them over the long term. Let's get into it. Herbs to boost cognitive power. And these are some of the herbs that we're going to look at today. Bacopa, Ginkgo, Gotu Kola, St. John's Wort, bilberry, turmeric, Feverfew, saffron and ginger. So let's start with Bacopa. Bacopa is known in the traditional sense in India under the name Brahmi, which has sort of an esoteric background to it, but it's to do with basically the enhancement of brain function, but it's also very useful in things like meditation, where you're wanting to get that brain to really hum. It's a tonic to improve memory, focus and cognition. And Brahmi or Bacopa has bacosides in it. They're key active compounds. It has brahmine, it has nicotine, and it has herpestin. These are alkaloids. It helps work with acetylcholinesterase, which is a neurotransmitter in the brain. And what I've known to the effects of Brahmi or Bacopa in practice is with epilepsy, because it helps stabilize the synapses and the connections between the synapses or the neurons in the brain. Very good for stabilizing that brain that gets out of balance and has seizures. So very good for epilepsy. Helps protect the nerves and reduces the formation of beta amyloid plaques, which we know are connected to Alzheimer's disease. So you'll see this pop up quite a lot as we go through these herbs, the reduction in beta amyloid plaques that are linked to Alzheimer's disease. So the Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease is another one that's related to brain function. That's more the dopamine, and you'll see some of these herbs actually help with that as well. So to traditional use of Bacopa dates back to 5000 BC. So that's 7,000 years of use, and that's what you call historical use and empirical evidence, when it's been used for that long. And of course there are a lot of studies that are being done now, and the amazing thing to me about the studies with these ancient herbs is they've been used for thousands and thousands of years, but only recently in the last decade or two have the studies been done that prove that there are compounds and components in these herbs that perform these exact functions that were talked about thousands of years ago. So here's an interesting one. Students who took Bacopa 150 milligram twice a day showed significant improvement in memory and cognitive function after 6 weeks. So that means you've got to take these things for a few weeks to really see the benefits. and have measurable effects. Improved memory retention in people aged 40 to 60 years old after 3 months. So there you go, that's 12 weeks of use. So improved cognitive performance in rats and humans. Yeah, the rats, that solve puzzles, don't they? And that's one way of testing the function. Prevents the beta amyloid plaques we've talked about. The neuroplasticity boost. So Bacopa can support brain repair by increasing nerve growth factor and synaptic plasticity. So there you go, there's a good reason why we were saying about seizures, that it would help prevent the seizures. A serotonin boost, so it helps reduce stress, and it increases cerebral blood flow. So what an amazing herb is Bacopa. Next one's Ginkgo Biloba, which you've probably heard of because it's fairly well known around the world. This is another ancient Chinese medicinal herb that's been used for thousands of years. These trees with these unique leaves have been known for their resilience and longevity dating back 270 million years. So they've found, obviously, this tree has been around a long time and has been fossilized. The main thing that ginkgo does is it has these flavonoids that protect the brain from oxidative damage and improve circulation. So we know about flavonoids in things like red wine, for example, that improves the circulation. There's a lot of flavonoids in ginkgo leaves. And the great thing with ginkgo leaves is you can actually eat them straight off the tree. Unlike most tree leaves, I don't know if you've ever tried eating tree leaves, but they're generally horrible, absolutely bitter and horrible. But ginkgo leaves, which is also called the maidenhair tree, by the way, you can grow this at home in quite a small space and get an endless supply of ginkgo for the rest of your life. And that's one thing I recommend doing. I planted a ginkgo tree probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I get bucket loads of ginkgo leaves every year, and I dry them and put them in my smoothies in the winter when the leaves aren't fresh. But having a couple of ginkgo leaves a day, and you can also see the ginkgo leaves, they're shaped, when you see them face on, a little bit like a cross section of the human brain. And it's a fascinating thing where they call it the doctrine of signatures, where plants demonstrate what they are used for by the way they are shaped and the look of them. So ginkgo is known to improve memory, concentration and circulation in the brain. It's been prescribed in Europe for treating dementia, a poor circulation and tinnitus, which is also the ears and eyes. You can call them the extensions of the brain. They're like the nerves that sprout from the brain, become the sensory nerves of the ears and the sensory nerves of the eyes. So eyes and ears will benefit from using brain herbs, which is another great thing to know. It's particularly known for increasing memory in people that are suffering with dementia. So, early stages of dementia. Alzheimer's disease, studies showing increased processing speed and cognitive function there as well. It's just an amazing herb. It's known to dilate the blood vessels in the brain and improve the blood flow in the brain and prevent brain damage from oxygen damage, oxidation. It helps prevent the DNA and the mitochondria in the brain from oxidative damage and stimulates DNA repair. So what an incredible herb. Ginkgo leaves enhance blood circulation, not just in the brains, but also in the heart, eyes, ears, and skin, supporting overall vascular health. Isn't that great? Prevents platelet aggregation, so that it keeps the blood thin, in other words, stops blood clotting. And Gotu Kola, this is another herb that is really a great herb to grow at home as well, because you can grow this in a pot or in your garden. In fact, if you grow it in a pot, it's probably better because it's a creeping, it goes underground and it'll go right through your garden if you don't have it in a pot. So it's a really good idea. But again, you get a great supply of this. It lasts for 2 or 3 years and you get a lot of leaves that you can put into salads or smoothies. And Gotu Kola has, it's also known as Indian pennywort, by the way, not to mistake it for common pennywort. So just look out for the leaves, because there's different shapes of these leaves. You can get these round ones, but you can also get kidney-shaped leaves. And they're in various sizes. There's various types of Gotu Kola. It has triterpenoid saponins and flavonols, sterols, and glycosides. So these are all anti-inflammatory compounds, steroidal compounds as well, the saponins. Great for wound healing, cognition, tissue repair and tissue regeneration, cognitive health and memory. So it's got multiple functions, Gotu Kola, and it's widely coined a cure-all for the brain because it has such a wide-ranging effect of benefits on the brain. So this is an interesting thing, venous insufficiency. So it improves blood circulation, microcirculation, and helps reduce varicose veins. So you can see there, the brain actually is an incredibly big need for blood and also for energy. And the arteries that come straight out of the heart, or the aorta, that there's the major artery that goes straight up into the brain. The brain takes 20% of the body's blood supply as it's pumped out of the heart. 20%. And it only makes up 2% of the body mass. So it requires basically 10 times the blood flow and 10 times the sugars and energy than the rest of the body and the organs in the body. So it's so important. So the fact that this Gotu Kola is really well known for the production of new tissue and for vascular health, it's so important to the brain. But it's known to improve memory, protect the nerves, prevent Alzheimer's disease. It has also stress reduction and improving in mood effects. Reduces inflammation and pain and prevents oxidative damage. And it's also known to reduce seizures, particularly in animal studies. So Gotu Kola, another incredible brain herb. St. John's Wort. You may have heard of St. John's Wort. It's been very popularly used as an antidepressant in recent times. It contains a compound called hypericin and also hyperforin. These are antidepressants and neuroprotectives. So it does that through the serotonin, dopamine and GABA pathways. So it's hormonally active, and these hormones are all critical for improving your mood, but also serotonin, dopamine and GABA pathways are central in the brain neurotransmitter pathways. So they're hormonal neurotransmitters. Also known to reduce oxidative stress and amyloid beta plaque production. So again, helps reduce Alzheimer's disease by preventing those plaque buildups. It has several other benefits, but it basically protects against cognitive decline such as dementia, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And it's also very good for your mood because of those hormones and neurotransmitters. It's also a powerful antioxidant. And by the way, St. John's Wort is also a powerful antiviral herb. So if you're affected by a virus and it's making you feel dizzy, or if it's affecting your brain, then St. John's Wort is the one to go for. And here we have bilberry. Now you may have heard of bilberry as the one for the eyes, and it's particularly good for the eyes because it has these anthocyanins and these compounds that are antioxidants that get into the microcirculation of the eyes and help reduce inflammation and improve the circulation of blood. But as you can imagine, if it's getting through the blood-brain barrier and it's affecting the eyes in this way, it's going to be benefiting the entire brain in the same way. So it's a powerful antioxidant, great for the circulation, and excellent protection for the brain all round. So we won't go too much more into that one. It's really a powerful antioxidant, and that's how it has all of these effects. Turmeric. Now turmeric's been talked about a lot, or curcumin has been talked about even more, as this powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. But one of the little known things about curcumin is that it has a powerful effect on preventing cancers. So this is another thing that can happen to the brain, is brain cancer. So another good reason to take brain herbs is to prevent brain cancer, and probably the number one herb for doing that would be turmeric. So as far as using turmeric or curcumin, it's good to use it in an extract form because the powder is hard to absorb. It's better to use it when it's extracted, and in a liquid is even better. That's why I recommend doing it. But here's some of the benefits of turmeric. Obviously, we just talked about it reduces inflammation and cancer prevention. It has about a dozen different mechanisms that ways that it helps prevent cancer, various pathways that it affects. And if you want to dig into that, I recommend just clicking on the images. So you can do that with any of these herbs. Click on the images and it will take you through to full page for each of the herbs. So curcumin has brain cell protective effects by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. And it helps also to reduce the amyloid plaque. And it also boosts what's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's a protein linked to memory and learning. So that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Brain helps reduce oxidative stress in the brain, protects the brain from damage and aging. And of course, all the other effects of curcumin or turmeric are anti-inflammatory. So multiple reasons to use this in a brain mixture. Okay, next I'd like to talk to you about Feverfew. So Feverfew, I've often used Feverfew in remedies for migraine headaches, and you don't need a lot of it, just a small dose of it to reduce the onset of migraine headaches in particular. And this is one that you can grow in your garden also, and it grows quite nicely for 2 or 3 years, and you'll get a good supply of Feverfew. And you just chew on a leaf each day, and it should help prevent the migraine headaches from coming on. So it's traditionally used for migraines, fevers, and pain relief and inflammation. There's some interesting ways this herb works, which we'll talk about in a moment. So there's been proven studies for migraine prevention. 1 fresh leaf a day or a capsule a day can reduce the severity of migraine headaches. It works on the serotonin receptors and blood flow. So Feverfew inhibits prostaglandin synthesis. So prostaglandin is the inflammatory compound that your immune system or your immune response produces. And obviously when you're inflamed, you feel pain. And so it's the same thing with headache. When there's inflammation in the brain, you'll get pain in the head. You get a headache. So it's an anti-inflammatory, an anti-spasmodic, and it reduces muscle and joint pain as well. It balances the hormones, the serotonin hormone levels in the brain, and supports mood regulation. So the compound in Feverfew, which is called parthenolide, blocks prostaglandin production, which is really how it does its job in reducing inflammation and pain in the brain. So you can see how this could be beneficial, especially if you take a small dose over the long term as part of a brain tonic. And then we've got saffron. So saffron's a wonderful herb. It's just the little fronds that come out of the saffron here that have this beautiful color to them. And they have the antioxidants in them, crocins and prickocrocin and safranal, which are responsible for the color and the flavor. It's known as red gold. It's the most expensive spice. And if you go and buy some saffron in the supermarket, you'll get a tiny little bit for a huge amount of money. and you really don't want to be using it in your cooking, and you're much better to use it as a medicine, to be honest. And it's been used since 1627 BC, although there's records going back that far, for treating eye diseases, joint pain and menstrual issues. But the big thing is treating eye diseases. And as we mentioned before with bilberry, anything that treats eye diseases and is an antioxidant that protects inflammation in the eye is going to protect your brain in the same way. So it's known to prevent Alzheimer's because of that antioxidant, and it inhibits amyloid beta plaque. Similar again, it's a powerful antioxidant. Reduces depression and anxiety. It works similarly to antidepressants, regulating serotonin and dopamine levels. So that's a nice little side bonus, isn't it? That these serotonin and dopamine levels improve your mood because your brain will function better, of course. And the quercetin helps improve blood circulation, reduces cholesterol and vascular health, and reduces blood pressure. So this is another side benefit. Anything that improves your blood pressure or your circulation and your blood flow and protects the blood vessels is going to do a great deal for your brain, because as we mentioned, 20% of the body's blood is pumped straight through the brain through the circulatory system in the brain. So another great herb to get in there. And lastly, I just wanted to mention ginger briefly, because ginger is another circulatory tonic and an anti-inflammatory. And so anything that does this is going to help your brain function, get that blood flowing, reduces the inflammation, makes the brain function better. And also ginger is usually included in mixtures like this because it helps the whole cohesiveness of a herbal remedy or herbal formulation when you're combining multiple herbs. It sort of evens the playing field and gets them all to work together nicely. But it is a powerful anti-inflammatory and circulatory tonic as well. And last of all, I thought I'd mention Brain Glow. So this is my liquid formula that I've put together using all of the herbs that we've gone through. And you can see they're all in here together. And this is a great mixture. It tastes good. It's got a licorice honey base to it. So it gives you a bit of a boost of energy as well. And you only need to take a teaspoon a couple of times a day to get a noticeable effect. And what you will find with it, when you take a teaspoon straight in the mouth, that the liquid absorbs, and it starts to absorb straight through the lining of your mouth, and you get an instant effect. So if you've got a headache or a bit of brain fog and you take a teaspoon of Brain Glow, you'll notice that right away. But of course, the long-term benefits, as we saw with some of the herbs and studies, that 6 weeks to 3 months, and you start to really notice improvements in memory, recall, cognition, just general ability to concentrate, and eyes and eyesight can improve as well. So those are some of the things that you might notice by using those herbs long term. I hope you found that helpful and inspiring, and if you're really interested, go follow the QR code there and really dig into some of those studies and see what some of these herbs can do, because it's truly mind-blowing. And that's what amazes me about herbal medicines, is they've known these things for thousands of years, but it's only in the last couple of decades that the studies have really come out and said, hey, these compounds are in these herbs and they actually do these things, and we're proving it. And, that just shows how these ancient herbalists knew what they were doing. They knew how to identify these herbs and they knew how to use them. And it's a really surprising thing that, the modern medical system isn't acknowledging some of the powerful benefits of using these medicines and integrating them into our healthcare system. And that's one of my passions long term, is to really get this information out there and really talk to a lot of doctors and try to get this across the line so that we start seeing mainstream adoption of herbal medicines and mainstream use. Because these degenerative diseases, particularly these brain diseases, I've seen it myself in my own family, it's such a terrible thing to see when people start losing their memory, and suffering with, the terrible loss of function of the brain. And it really takes you down quickly. And you can live a long time with a really malfunctioning brain, and that's not a fun life to lead. So let's stay healthy, keep our memory, remember those special things that we've experienced in our lifetimes as long as possible, and share them with each other. So thanks for watching again, and we'll talk to you soon.